Hey guys, it's Anthony Bandiero here, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you another roadside chat from the studio. Okay, so here's our question. If officers are searching a car for a weapon, where can they look? Is it the wingspan? Is it other areas? Does it include other people's property? And so forth. All right. So very good question. I think I've addressed this issue, other times in, different contexts and so forth. But let's just kind of go through it. So our seminal case here is Michigan versus Long, where the U.S. Supreme Court said that if officers have a reason to believe that the vehicle contains a weapon and the person can access that weapon either, now or, in the future when they're going to be released, that's kind of what we're looking for. The officers can look in any area capable of holding that weapon and accessible to the occupant. So the Supreme Court did not use wingspan. It just said areas accessible to the occupant. So that's going to be broader than a wingspan, but generally speaking, cops use the lunge area or wingspan as a reference point. But use good judgment here, right? If you believe the officer can go into the occupant get into the back seat, you're gonna probably get into the back seat, right? If it's a rear seat occupant that's out of the car and he's a gang member and, you believe that he's armed and dangerous and you pat him down, do you believe that he could go get a gun from underneath the front seat? If you believe that, go search under the front seat, right? Just because that's where he was sitting doesn't necessarily mean that that's where he's going to go or he can access a weapon. I think there's really two flavors of these cases that I see, okay? The first case is where, officers believe the guy is acting shady, he's, being deceptive. They're going to pat him down, but they're not for sure that there's a gun in the car. Those cases are going to be more restrictive. I mean, just the way it is, right? They're going to be more critical of why you search the car, not just the person and so forth. And then these other cases where the person is suspected of being involved in a crime of violence, they brandished a firearm, they're burglary suspects, and burglary suspects have tools. And those ones are like very easy. The courts are consistently upholding a pretty broad protective sweep of the vehicle because that there's weapons involved, right? Or weapons of opportunity with the burglary suspect. So those are pretty easy cases. Finally, you don't get the trunk unless you have reason to believe that they put a weapon back there, right? That's just the way it is. And now the Michigan versus Long is an old case, prior to electronic trunk openers and press buttons. These are the days where you had to have like a separate key. So I think, case law hasn't quite caught up to the reality of the situation with these new cars. But case law does say that if you have a reason to believe they put something back there, you could, furtive movements from the front passenger to the back passenger, and then, potentially into the pass-through, into the trunk, courts will likely uphold that. So that's kind of what you're looking for. As far as other people's property, look, if you have a reason to believe that a weapon is in the vehicle, that does not mean that other people's property is off limits. If you are dealing with a gang member in the front passenger seat, and you believe that he could be armed and dangerous, right? He's an active street gang member. He has the colors, the tats, and so forth. Where do you think it's reasonable to check the driver's purse to just look in it and see if there's a weapon? If the purse is within his reach, and the answer would be yes, in my book, right? But you do want to articulate it. I think the courts are going to be in your favor as long as the articulation is there. Anyway, actually, in this, just a little bit of follow-up. In this case, he gave an example. He said that a traffic stop, and he found the butt of a gun, or he saw under the rear floorboard the butt of a gun, and he removed the passenger, the driver from the car. Could he search further for more weapons? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely, right? You already have one gun. Could he have also some other weapons? But the officer has definitely met the threshold of a reason to believe there's a weapon in the vehicle and the driver could access it either now because he's not handcuffed and he could run to the car, or if he is handcuffed, he could get there in the future when he's going to access the car, because at this point he's not under arrest, right? That's the whole point. If he's under arrest, then we don't search cars for weapons necessarily unless we have a reason to believe there's a weapon there. Then we search it for securing it so that nobody else can grab it, like a tow truck driver, and nobody's going to hurt themselves. But if he's just potentially dangerous, like the gang member and so forth, then we need another reason to get into the car. Does that make sense? Hopefully it's not getting too convoluted. All right. If you like what I'm doing, guys, look, I take, a lot of time from my business, from my family to do these videos. I love doing them, but I only love doing them if you guys appreciate them. If you don't appreciate them and you don't think that they're valuable, you got to let me know so I can go do something else, right? So let me know, and you can let me know by hitting the like button, sending a comment, let me know what you think, good or bad, and subscribing. And then finally, please let your friends know, right? Because I want to build this up to tens of thousands of people so we can get the message out of what case law requires. All right? Stay safe, guys. Stay safe. Thank you.
When it comes to legal training, we're the gold standard. Visit bluetogold.com or call 888-579-7796 today to purchase the Search and Seizure Survival Guide, register for a class, or learn how to bring our search and seizure training to your agency.